People who used to have low confidence but changed that. How did you do it? It took my skin nearly peeling off for me to finally look for better resources. I've had hormonal acne since I was 12 years old, and I regularly depended on the advice of dermatologists to help cure my skin. I would have painful cystic acne that would leave me crying in bed every morning because I didn't want to be seen by others. I couldn't even do a simple face wash because any pimple that would pop would leave me with a scar for months. I hated myself so much that I didn't even celebrate my birthdays because I didn't want anyone to see me. I've tried every new acne medication, but nothing really worked. I realized how unfulfilled I had been feeling in my 20s so far and how much I had been letting my acne hold me back. I didn't use any sort of makeup since every single product I tried on my face seemed to aggravate my breakouts. The only real support I had when it came to my appearance came from my aunt, who would buy me simple products like primers and tinted moisturizers to try and treat my acne, but my skin was just too sensitive. As if my pimples didn't make me insecure enough, my face was always significantly dehydrated and flaky throughout the winter. It was like every time I spent more than 5 minutes in direct sunlight, my skin would dry up so severely that my lips would even crack and bleed. That's when I finally accepted the fact that I was never going to find a solution for my chronic acne, and I might never feel beautiful in my own skin. When my period hit this month, my forehead and cheeks broke out with some of the largest, most swollen pimples that I had ever seen on my face. Every winter my face would crack like an old porcelain doll and my face was guaranteed to be a swamp of pimples by the end of each summer. I remember waking up, looking in the mirror, and going right back to bed without even bothering to wash my face since I knew it would be excruciating to touch. I only woke up to the sound of my phone ringing. When I answered, it was my aunt. She was always checking in with me, and I had vented plenty of times about how much stress my acne caused me. I would tell her through tears how I felt like it was robbing me of my confidence and I was just wasting my 20s away when it was supposed to be the prime of my life. I answered the phone, and when she asked how I was, I told her how I had basically given up hope on ever being able to treat my acne and finally feel beautiful. I guess my aunt could hear the sadness and defeat in my voice because she said she would be over as soon as she could. When my aunt got to my apartment, she let herself in with her key and found me in bed, trying to cautiously wipe tears off my inflamed face. Just the sight of her standing in my bedroom doorway holding a bouquet of flowers and a little gift bag made me cry harder. Even though I was feeling so ugly and worthless, she had made me feel so cared for and special in that moment. She sat down next to my bed, stroked my hair, and held me as I cried. After I had calmed down, my aunt got me a cup of tea and told me to open up my gift. Even though I hadn't had luck with any products she had brought me in the past, I was hopeful there would be something new to try in the bag. I sifted through the face masks, bottles of Midol and sweet-smelling lotions, and landed on a fancy-looking tube of growth factor sunscreen. It immediately caught my attention since I always needed to wear extra sunscreen during the winter to fight my skin's flakiness, and the one that I had been using still caused the skin around my lips to crack. No matter how much sunscreen and chapstick I reapplied throughout the day, my skin never improved. My aunt said that she had started using the growth factor sunscreen herself and that she loved how well it worked as a primer, explaining that she felt like it enhanced all her regular face products that she had already been using for years. When I looked back at my aunt closely, I noticed that her skin seemed more radiant, and there weren't any visible wrinkles around her eyes or mouth like usual. I was excited to have a makeup product that seemed gentle enough for me to use and also offered me some sun protection. I gently applied it for the first time the next day, and I was thrilled to see that it immediately gave me this beautiful finished look despite laying on my pimples. The gel itself felt refreshing on my face, and on top of making my acne appear less harsh, it softened the discoloration on my skin and immediately hydrated any flaky areas, especially around my lips. I had never had a sunscreen that had such a lengthy SPF without leaving a white film, and being able to use it as a primer was just the cherry on top. Although my acne still lay under my smoothed-out skin, seeing how well the Growth Factor sunscreen worked as a primer gave me a much-needed boost of hope. I began using the Growth Factor sunscreen every single day. It was exciting to feel like I was wearing a bit of makeup, even if it was just primer. It still made a difference, and my friends commented on the change in my appearance, saying that I looked extra glowy lately. By Valentine's Day, my skin had almost completely cleared up, but I was still tense as I knew my period would come and trigger my monthly breakouts. I was terrified to lose the life-changing progress I had made using the sunscreen. To my absolute surprise, the giant, cystic bumps that had been appearing on my face monthly since I was a kid were nowhere to be found throughout February. All I did was wash my face like normal and use my Growth Factor sunscreen after moisturizing, and my period came and went without leaving a single blemish on my face. It sounds dramatic, but anyone who's ever struggled with chronic acne knows what I mean when I say I felt reborn. When I looked in the mirror, I could actually look at myself and see the beauty in my features that I had never been able to appreciate before since all I could focus on was my hideous acne. I went to visit my aunt a few weeks after she first gave me the Growth Factor sunscreen to return the favor by giving her a small gift of my own. When she saw me, she said I looked almost unrecognizable since my skin was so clear, and she had never seen me looking so happy. I never knew what it felt like to feel so comfortable and beautiful in my own skin, and I started becoming way more active and social. I only had to repurchase a new tube after 2 months since I only used about a dime-sized amount of cream for my entire face. Plus they offered refills as a cheaper option instead of having to buy a brand new tube, and it was clear I was paying for quality since no other sunscreen seemed to work for my skin, and anyone who has had acne knows how priceless clear skin is. I went out more often with my friends and started getting brand new attention from guys. When I was still struggling with my breakouts, I despised going out since I felt like people were judging my appearance, but now I couldn't stop going out with my friends and I finally felt like I was living my 20s the way I was supposed to. I still get emotional sometimes when I look at my new face in the mirror and think back to the nights when I cried while washing my stinging face because it was so tender. I was so grateful that with one tiny gift, my aunt helped me start living my best life and truly embrace my appearance for the first time since I was a little girl. I went from not being able to wash my face since my acne was so inflamed to not having to wear makeup because my healed skin was so even and healthy.